Hey guys, welcome back. This is Marvin Ed with QBrush.com, and in this chapter we're going to be doing the initial sketch. Before we go into that, I want to talk about the differences between male and female when it comes to facial features. You might have noticed, from looking at the cheat sheets that I showed in the previous chapter, that all there is are male heads. But that's not a problem. Don't panic. This is actually pretty good. So what I always recommend is that you always start with male features and then sort of tone them down, sort of tweak and soften them up so that you end up with a female one. It's a good practice to always start because it's easier to get sort of the structure right when you're working with a male head, for example, male portrait, because everything is a lot rougher, not rougher, but a lot better defined, I would say. When it comes to female, as you can see here, everything is a lot softer. There's less, the geometrical shapes are less obvious, I guess. Obviously this depends on the race and the age and a lot of different things, but when we talk about a painting, the differences between the gender, we want to push things a little bit more so that there's a clear line between the two. At least that's what I do normally. So for female, curved lines and softer edges, so it's going to be the same, the same volumes, everything, except everything is a little bit softer. Also, the face is shorter, so since the jaw is not as pronounced as males, the face as a result will look a little bit shorter, so it's not going to be as tall, I guess. And the nose is also smaller, so the bridge of the nose is going to be shorter, the nose itself is going to be shorter, and that results in an overall smaller face, so if you were to compare them side to side, but mostly smaller in the vertical sense. And for female, you'll also want to have the eyes be a little bit bigger, and they're not really bigger. It's just a symptom of having the shorter face. They seem bigger, but you can also bump them up a little bit just to make it a little bit more cute. That's generally sort of like the cliche rule that people use. And last one, thinner neck. Just there's less muscle, so the neck is not as thick as for males. So we're gonna go back here, and I'm gonna apply sort of those shapes onto my old sketch really quickly. As you can see, it's fast forwarded. I'm gonna go and slow it down a little bit after I'm done with that. But all I want to do here is show where the main shapes are. So kind of recreate the bottom right situation on my character, on my female character here on my sketch. And as you'll see, when I actually do the real sketch, everything is going to be dialed down and softened up, but this is still a really good indication of where the light is going to hit mostly. Normally I wouldn't do that step. I would probably include it into what I'm about to do now, so which is the the actual sketch. So add a little bit more construction lines in there to bring it back a little bit closer to a male, and then dial it down whenever I jump onto the colors. But for the sake of this tutorial, it's actually probably a good idea to show where I'm going with this, and to show also the similarities, even though it's a female, how closely it looks to the male head at the bottom right. When you'll see whenever I do portraits, so in this case I'm going to be keeping the sketch very loose, so very sketchy. And what I mean by that is that somebody else could push the sketch a lot and actually turn it into like a proper drawing where everything is very nice and clean, and then have the lines on their own layer as they are right now. So I'm still doing that part the same, but what somebody else might do after that is color underneath the line art. So instead of coloring over it like I'm going to do, is color underneath and keep the lines until the very end, or maybe kill them or like tweak them somehow if that's your style. Maybe like color the lines a little bit, or make them disappear like at 50%, whatever it is. But it is another way that I've seen people do a lot, keeping the lines until the very end, or until like much further down the line. In my case, what I'm going to be doing is I'm still, you know, having those lines on their separate layers because it's just easier. And then what I'm going to be doing is, when I actually do jump to colors, is paint over everything. So I'm not going to be painting underneath my lines, I'm going to be painting over them, and not in, you know, any kind of weird blend mode. I'm going to use like just normal blend mode and just paint over everything. So the lines are going to disappear at some point. They are not meant to stay in. That means that I can sort of be looser with my sketch, so I don't have to respect, you know, I don't have to be clean, I don't have to worry about it too much. And I can also add like kind of indications where normally I wouldn't want them there because it's a clean sketch, you know, if I were to do the other way. But in my case, I really don't care. So as you can see, I'm adding like some hints of shading here for the jaw, and like the under the ear, under the eyes, for example, you have those black outlines, which are definitely not cute, but they will disappear, and they're just not there now because it's a good indication for me as to what the construction of the eye looks like. So this is actually that is actually my real process. So if I were to do it, you know, I wouldn't do the sketch at the top left. That's just there to explain things. But I would do this. So it would be a very sketchy sketch, and with a little bit of you know, hints of shading. Nothing much. Just things here and there to indicate the volumes a little bit better before I move on to you know, to colors. And but yeah, like in the end, I know that this character is not gonna look anything like this. I mean, it'll look like, I guess, a distant cousin. So it's not meant to look like this. So I know that there's a lot of stuff that will change. You know, as you can see, she doesn't even have a body. I would recommend for everybody else to actually, you know, probably draw the body first. But in this case, I wasn't sure if I was going to do a you know, just a head or an actual sort of bust, or not bust, but like include the shoulders and maybe part of the torso in there, or maybe a hand. So I just left it out, and I hoped I would figure it out along the way. Not the most no, not the best way to work, I guess, but that's kind of like my thing, like a little bit more of an organic you know, workflow. So yeah, the line art, like I said, not meant to be final, not meant to be polished. I know this character is going to change a lot along the way when I do apply the colors, and but that's okay. So it's not you know, it's not meant to be polished. It's meant to be like that. It's meant to change, and let's see what we do with the colors in the next chapter. See you then.